Hello, Judith here from Therapies for the Mind with number 3 in my series of videos about sleep. Videos 1 and 2 are still available. 1 dealt with the physical effects of poor sleep. 2 dealt with the mental and emotional effects of poor sleep. And in both cases, the long-term effects could be serious. With physical, you could be doubling your risk of death. And with mental and emotional, you could be putting yourself at high risk of anxiety and or depression. So today I'm going to focus on the causes. Why is it we don't sleep? We can all usually identify, well, no, actually that's probably not true. Thinking about my experience over the last year or so. Sometimes we can't. Sometimes there's nothing we're worrying about. And sometimes we know we're worrying about something. Sometimes we just don't know what's going on, but we just can't sleep. So let's go through the causes. Aging, partly I think due to reduced need for sleep, and partly due to taking afternoon naps. But it is a fact that as we get older, we need less sleep. So it starts with, a baby needing huge amounts of sleep to somebody in their 80s or 90s needing much, much less sleep. Not a lot we can do about that. Keep ourselves as active and stimulated, both mentally and physically. But apart from that, it's going to happen, isn't it? But talking about stimulation before bedtime is not good. So doing exercise immediately before bed, watching the TV, particularly when you're in bed, using it as a way of going to sleep. Yes, it may help you to get to sleep. It may not get you into a good sleep. And if it's still going, if you haven't got a sleep timer, then it's likely to wake you or bring you up a level in your sleep, so the quality of your sleep is poor. And then there's the thing which everybody must have heard about by now, which is electronic devices. Whatever you're doing on your electronic devices, whether you're playing games, which will have you very alerted, whether you're looking at Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever and getting cross about what people are saying, there's a whole range of ways that electronic devices can stimulate us. And that's not what we should be doing. At the end of the day, we should be winding down, not winding ourselves up. There are some physical things to do with your environment. So if you struggle with noise, which you can't control, then, maybe you need to resort to earplugs. But there are other things, how comfortable is your bed? Have you got the right sort of bedding? Some people swear by weighted blankets, for instance, for all sorts of reasons. Other people like a much lighter covering. Is the level of light or darkness right? Is it too hot, too cold? All of those things are important, and you need to learn what's right for you. Stress is obviously a big, big cause of sleeplessness or poor quality sleep, and it can come from what's happening to us during the day. So it can come from work or school or social relationships or even more personal relationships. And what happens when you're stressed is that you're alerted. You're telling your body there's some kind of threat around and I have to be in peak physical condition and peak mental condition to deal with it. So you're on high alert. And therefore it's impossible to go to sleep or get good quality sleep. And then worrying about your sleep just adds another thing to the list of things that you're worrying about. So it becomes a cycle of, stress, poor sleep, stress about poor sleep, worse sleep, etc., etc. Certain mental health issues can interfere with your sleep. So I focus on people with anxiety, and people with anxiety almost always have poor sleep. And as I said in one of the previous videos, Poor sleep can lead to anxiety, or anxiety can lead to poor sleep. But again, we get a cycle developing, so that the less sleep we have, the more anxious we become. The more anxious we become, the less sleep we have. So we're going round and round in circles. It's estimated that about 40% of people with sleep problems are suffering from anxiety. And anxiety is nothing to be ashamed of. Anxiety is a mental illness. You wouldn't be ashamed if you had the flu, or, you know, had a heart attack, for, you know, or broke a leg or whatever. There's no more reason to be ashamed of being anxious. And if you're getting into this sleep anxiety cycle, it's important to do something about both, in fact. And often when I'm working with people with anxiety, I'll start with sleep to help build up some resilience so that we can then work on the anxiety. Depression also can affect sleep. That can go either way. Sometimes people sleep too much, or again, sometimes they sleep too little, or the sleep quality is poor. And there are obvious and more difficult to deal with causes like jet lag. I mean, there are ways of dealing with jet lag, but we've all had the experience. If we've ever been, certainly to the States, you know, I'm usually fine when I get there, but worse when I get back. But jet lag is a problem where you're crossing time zones. And shift work, obviously. The one thing that our body likes is routine. And in fact, suffering from poor sleep becomes a habit. So in the end, whatever the initial cause was, whether you went through some sort of crisis or trauma, and that's when your sleep started to get bad, it then becomes habitual. Our brains are brilliant at automating things that we do on a regular basis. Unfortunately, the part of the brain that does that assumes we have made a sensible, conscious decision that this is what we want to do. And of course, in the case of so much, but in this particular case, poor sleep, it's not a conscious decision. So it can become habitual. With shift work, of course, you're breaking up the pattern. There is no routine. You know, I'm trying to sleep in the day or with the night, or, you know, and that is known to cause poor sleep and all sorts of physical and mental and emotional problems. And then the last one is something which, you know, if you're aware of, or if your partner tells you you need to look into, is important. And that's sleep apnea, where for longer than normal, you stop breathing. So it's not long enough to kill you because you become alerted from sleep and then you then start breathing. But sleep apnea is serious, and about 20% of people who are having sleep problems are suffering from some form of sleep apnea. So it's difficult always to know yourself, but as I say, if your partner tells you that, you know, that they worry about when you're going to breathe next, then probably it's time to seek medical help and check out sleep apnea online. Okay, so there are a whole load of reasons why we might start to sleep poorly. And then, as I say, this wonderful facility in our brain to automate things for us kicks in, and it becomes a habit. So we have to learn ways of breaking that habit. Now, currently I have a sleep recording available. Link will be below the video. So please feel free to have a look at that and see if it will help you get to sleep or get back to sleep, because both are equally important. Okay, one more video to go in this mini series, and next time it's some hints and tips on how to start improving your sleep, how to start breaking that habit. So I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and until then, I hope you sleep well tonight and in the nights to come. And until I see you next, take care. Bye.